Hello, Fights with Friends community, Seattle. Mike, we are live. We're going to be doing a lot more of these afternoon shows. 2023, I do believe, is the year of Fights with Friends. I think we're going to be huge. By the end of 2023, I think we're going to be a lot bigger than we are right now anyways. I can't control how many views we get. I can't control how many subscribers we get. I mean, you can to a point, but is all you can do is put out content, continue to try to put out more and better content, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy this year in the community. What's up, First Amendment? Whoever Francis fights is going to have a bad day at the office. What's up, Mike? Yeah, you're not joking, man. Doing good, man. Just got off of work and put together a little show for you guys, and I think we'll have a good time. PR says, I could imagine BKFC could afford his salary. Possibly. I think they're paying a lot more money than what a lot of people think they are. PR says, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is like the e-cigarettes of the fight world, cheap and plentiful and straight to the point. Yeah, to a point. So here's the thing. Well, one of the biggest things that Francis talked about with not re-signing with the UFC, and the big sticking point for the UFC, was Francis wanted to actually be an independent contracted employee, an independent contractor, like the UFC promises every single fighter. And I know a lot of you are big Dana White fans and big UFC fans, and I have a lot of respect for everything that he has done with the sport as well. I'm going to go on the attack with him a little bit today because I'm not happy with the way that he has handled this last week at all, and it has nothing to do with the New Year's Eve thing. I'm past that. I'm done talking about that. But there's plenty other things to be on Dana White about right now that have nothing to do with that. What's up, Jim? Good afternoon, sir. Josiah, I'm here early. What's up? What's up, Josiah? Good to see you, man. PR checking in from the office. Slow day. Getting the sweet time and a half. Nice. That's almost good. The drunken charge in the house. What's up, Robert Kerrigan? So I forgot to send you a second text, but you're here. What's going on, Torin? Good to see you. Getting off work at 3. Nice. Torn, cheers, my guy. Who's the big money for BKFC? Who's signing the check? So Dave Feldman's the guy signing the checks, and they are interested in Francis. I mean, like everyone is interested in Francis right now, right? But he's right there too. I wouldn't count them out, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly why I wouldn't count him out. He said he would love to add Francis Ngannou, of course. He thinks that they could pay him big money. There's good competition for them, and, make no mistakes about it. He's like, this would be really good for our league. And I appreciate the honesty there. Here's the thing. Francis talked about wanting that freedom. Like I said, the independent contractor that I believe the UFC violates the independent contractor clause every single day. I mean, every single day. I don't understand how the UFC hasn't lost, 100 lawsuits at this point. But the independent contractor says, hey, I can go fight in Bellator. I can go box. I can do BKFC, which MVP, Michael Venom Page, just re-signed with Bellator. He does all 3 of those things. He does boxing matches. He just did a bare knuckle match against Mike Perry. Then he did, he does the MMA thing. The UFC is so obsessed with owning their fighters And honestly, I don't know why I haven't been harder on this in the past. Because it's just really, it's not great at all. So, oh, we don't want you guys to do boxing. You know what? If you had started that Zuffa boxing league, I guarantee you every single fucking fighter in the UFC would be allowed to do boxing. Because they're allowed to do grappling and jiu-jitsu matches right now. That's because Fight Underground, Chael's Submission Underground, is on UFC Fight Pass. Eddie Bravo's Submission League is on Fight Pass. You're going to tell me that you couldn't get injured as easily in a jiu-jitsu match as you could in a boxing match? Bullshit. Bullshit. Because there's so many injuries all the time in jiu-jitsu. You tear a knee ligament, rip an arm, dislocate a shoulder. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. What's going on, Josh? Good to see you, my man. Boxing MMA, what's up, dude? I don't blame Francis for leaving the UFC. I don't either. And I'm going to sound off a little more on Dana White here in a second. And that doesn't mean I don't think that Dana White, is the fucking man that created the whole thing, made the UFC big and all that stuff. I'm not saying that. But no one is above criticism, and least of all the UFC and then Dana White, because they have a power of position. Or they have a position of power, excuse me. So they can call the shots, they can be vindictive, or, they can be, they can have mercy. They can be merciful. And in my opinion, especially lately, they are very, very, not very often are they merciful. Heard a promotion called Hardcore Boxing Championship. Alfred Ngannou, $3 million, whoever they are. I seen that to fight their heavyweight champion, and I'm like, oh man, really? Okay. Dana White is gonna get what's coming to him, says Dorn. What's up, Frank? Watching for a hospital bed today. Oh, that's not good, man. I hope you're on the mend. I hope it's nothing too serious. What's up, Beowulf? Long time no see. Hope you've been well. Hey, I've been doing good, man. Just trying to grow this channel, enjoying watching fights with all my friends. And let's go into... we're going to go into what's going on with Francis, and a host of people from around the media world have weighed in on this. And to where Francis is going. Francis will break his silence. It was originally supposed to be today, I guess, but it looks like it's going to be tomorrow from Cameroon. The MMA hour with Ariel Helwani, the entire thing is just him and Francis Ngannou. So look forward to that. I'll definitely be watching it. Taking notes, because that's what I do. I think Ngannou does a boxing match or two, then cashes out. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the guy can do a lot of things. And you're going to tell me that he couldn't act? You're going to tell me that Marvel couldn't use him? Disney, he was already with ESPN Plus, of course, but, they have a relationship, even though he's not with the UFC. I definitely don't think Francis is going to hold anything against him. Dana White, he has been aggressive and belittling to Francis Ngannou ever since the first Stipe fight. And I think that is because he can't control him. He was pissed off that Francis went to France before the Stipe fight. And maybe it wasn't the best idea. I don't know exactly when it was, but I don't know, exactly what Francis's situation was. But Dana White coming out and saying, oh, Francis's ego has gotten the best of him. This guy's got a bigger ego than anyone we've ever dealt with. Are you kidding me? You deal with Conor McGregor and John Jones and Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey and all these egos. Nobody else has ever said this. Nobody else has ever mentioned Francis Ngannou's ego getting away from him. Find me a quote. Find me a quote from anyone but Dana White saying that Francis Ngannou has an ego. Everyone else I've heard has said he's been the most polite guy you can think of. If anything, they're surprised by, how little ego he has. Ariel went hard on Dana White in a recent show, as he should. And I know they're going to take it from Ariel Helwani because, they've had bad blood for a while. But, I don't generally go after Dana White. I've been somewhat of a protector. I've been criticized for not going after Dana White as hard. I'm not going to protect him today. That's not what this show is about. I'm pretty pissed, to be honest. Ngannou could definitely be the next Black Panther. Oh, that would be great. And people are, he doesn't know how to act and all these things. The dude's very charismatic. And you're going to tell me they took Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in a WWE? You're going to tell me that guy can act? I'm sorry. I know people have said, there's been good acting roles from The Rock or whatever. Guys, I haven't seen it. I like The Rock. I've seen movies where I like the movie and I like his character, but to act like he's some kind of great actor or something I think that's ludicrous. Never see Francis be all ego crazy. No, me either. Jim says, took the words right out of my mouth, Beowulf. Ariel and Brendan Schaub don't like Dana. And they don't like Dana. Neither does Luke Thomas. And to be honest, Dana White has created a lot of enemies in the media. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of these guys that just generally goes after Dana and is like, attack Dana White, attack him. But this is going to be one of those kinds of shows, though, because I'm pissed. I'm pissed about the way that Dana White did the outro interview on Saturday. How he talked about, Francis just doesn't want to fight these guys anymore. Francis is scared of John Jones. Are you kidding me? Does anybody in their right mind believe Francis Ngannou is scared of John Jones? Come on. Look at the dude. I mean, I'm not saying John Jones couldn't beat him. Maybe he could. I think it'd be a great fight. I think everybody wants to see it. But, and a guy that I think is probably next in line to be president of the UFC, or maybe was, before this week, spoke up on this. And this is a guy that knows John Jones very well. And that's going to be Daniel Cormier. And he said right now, because Francis is almost like Francis avoided Jones. He says that's not true. Francis would have fought John Jones on any day of the week. Let's not get crazy, fans. But trust me, Jones is going to flip to, is he the real champion because he didn't beat Francis Ngannou? If you win that fight against Cyril Gane. So a couple things as far as that real quick to get that out of the way. Will they be the real champion? Yes, both those guys are very good. Cyril Gane, he fought Francis. That fight was very close, and there were people that thought Cyril won that fight. I scored the fight for Francis, but it was close. If you scored it for Cyril Gane, I'm not going to say you were wrong. It wasn't a big blowout fight. Nate can get that Francis fight he wanted. Oh, Schmidt. Dana would say Francis is afraid of Jones, but refuse to expose the fact his little Irish leprechaun has dogged Ferguson for years. Yep. I don't think Francis is afraid of anyone. You have to start looking into jungle wildlife to find anything Francis fears. No, and perhaps, for sure. And, I think Dana's, his thing was, if I start letting these guys do what they want to do and go out there and box, and like he did with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, I think he regrets that. And look what Conor did with it. Conor became such a big star. He made literally hundreds of millions of dollars. He got paid out the wazoo to fight Floyd Mayweather Jr., then he parlays that over into the whiskey thing, and all of a sudden Dana can't get him in the octagon. Or few and far between, and as people have said, that Conor's not as disciplined and yada yada. If I had $100 million, trust me, last thing I want to do is get punched in the face for a living. Unfortunately, crossing Endeavor, WWE might hurt Hollywood opportunities for ex-UFC fighters to leave on bad terms. Supposedly, he didn't leave on bad terms. Supposedly. And I don't know that WME is upset with him as much as it's just Dana's upset with him. But WMEs have their own problems in Hollywood. Very sensitive issue, and I know, YouTube still doesn't like to talk about it, so I'll kind of tiptoe around this. But during the pandemic, the C-19 was going around, WME they were not favorable in Hollywood. Basically, the UFC was their only business in town because everyone in Hollywood was upset with them for doing the UFC shows. They were upset. For another thing, they're very upset with WME because they were doing acting outside of the union. So WME does not have a great relationship with Hollywood at all right now. They may have a few years ago. Right now, they definitely do not. And the UFC is far and away the best thing they have going for them. Jake Paul offered Francis the same offer he made Nate Diaz. Could you imagine Francis Ngannou hitting Jake Paul? Could you imagine? The nerve of that guy. Like I said, I've gained more respect for Jake Paul over the last couple of years, going into boxing and stuff. And he's worked hard and, I've given him his props, but I don't see him fighting Francis Ngannou. He must have known flat out that Francis wasn't going to take that fight. He had to have. Dana loves throwing his fighters on the bus, everyone except McGregor. And, the more I've really started to pay attention to this the last couple of years. And where there's two stories all the time. And this was a big thing with Nate Diaz a lot. And and Yaya Rodriguez and, John Jones, all kinds of different fighters. And every time Dana has a different fighter, it's like a different story than the other fighter. Sometimes, you know what? I think Dana's probably telling the truth, but is every single one of his fighters lying when they disagree? Every single one of them? I don't think that either. UFC released him his contract without any legal dispute. They must have been on good terms. I think that was more of a PR thing. Like, they knew that they weren't going to be able to keep him. So January 25th was the date that he could start talking to other promotions. So the UFC gave up what? They gave up 8 days, 8, 9, 10 days. And then, a big caveat that they did kind of give, I don't know how much it's going to help Francis, being the injury he's dealing with, the knee injury he has right now, though. But, the UFC waived the 90 days match clause. They would have had 90 days, like a kind of a cooling off period, to continue to try to negotiate and also to try to match anything. Well, they've been talking for 2 years, and they couldn't come to an agreement. I think they looked at it and said, hey, 90 days is not going to make that big of a difference. But what can we do right now? We can do a couple of things. One, we can go out there and kind of look like the good guy. We can, we're going to let Francis go. We're letting him go to do his own thing and wish him well. Okay, you're going to cut him out of his contract 9, 10 days earlier or whatever. And you waive the matching clause, which... that is a bigger thing, maybe. But his matching clause was, it was a different situation. He had things in there on his matching clause, and I'm surprised that they allowed him to put these in there. that it wasn't just about the money, it was about being allowed to go do other things. And, that's what Francis wants to do. That would definitely be the end of Jake. I think so too. I wish Tony Ferguson would have went the route of Francis earlier in his UFC career. Yeah, Tony got screwed by the UFC. And I have no idea why, because he was always a company guy. I'm predicting it now. One of the fighters on the roster are going to get fed up with Dana White, kick his butt. Well, he would definitely file assault charges against them. But, like I said, I want to go back to the independent contractor thing. Let's look up the definition of an independent contractor. Because the UFC has this thing to where, okay, you're an independent contractor when it works for us. So, we don't have to pay you a salary. We don't have to pay your medicals except for after fight. Yada, yada, yada. But when it comes to actually being an independent person, it's like, oh no, we have you on contract. How do you have us on contract? I'm an independent contractor. I'm an independent contractor. I have a contract with Mission Foods to sell tortillas into the stores on a route that I bought. So those stores, they have to get serviced. I don't have to service them. Just somebody has to service them. And the store has to be happy. I can hire someone else. I can spend however much time it takes to do that. The rest of the time, it's my time. There is a no competition clause, but that is direct competition. I cannot sell tortillas for another tortilla brand, and that's it. I can go out there and do a little Debbie's Sprout. I can own a McDonald's franchise. I can do whatever. I can work 3 other jobs while I'm not there. Whatever I want to do. They don't have any control over me. So if that was the definition, if the UFC treated their fighters like that, like Mission does, because that's what they're legally obliged to do, not because they're a nice company, the only stipulation against fighters would be, okay, you're fighting for the UFC, you cannot also fight for Bellator, PFL, 1FC, other MMA leagues, which are direct competitors. That makes sense. So an independent contractor, this according to Wikipedia, an independent contractor is a person, business, or corporation that provides goods or services. So services, which is what what Francis would be giving under a written contract or a verbal agreement. Unlike employees, independent contractors do not work regularly for an employee, but work as required when there may be subject to law of agency. So there are things that can be added in. So this from the IRS, the general rule is that an individual is an independent contractor if the payer has the right to control or direct only the result of the work and not what will be done and how it will be done. Okay, so it says people such as doctors, dentists, veterinarians, lawyers, accountants, contractors, subcontractors, auctioneers, etc. offer their services to the general public are generally independent contractors. However, whether these people are independent contractors or employees depends on the facts in each case. If you're an independent contractor, then you are self-employed. The earnings of a person who is working as an independent contractor are subject to self-employment tax. You are not an independent contractor if you perform services that can be controlled by an employer. What will be done and how it will be done. This applies even if you are giving freedom of action. What matters is that the employer has the legal right to control the details of how the services are performed. If an employer-employee relationship exists, regardless of what the relationship is called, then you are not an independent contractor and your earnings are generally not subject to self-employment tax. However, your earnings as an employee may be subject to FICA. That's just a tax thing. To me, the UFC is clearly in violation of the IRS's definition of an independent contractor. What's up, Zero Bob? Ngannou is going to PFL. Possibly, I thought Bellator was going to be the place until it came out that they were for sale, and I have no idea how that's going. I was hoping that Big John McCarthy and Joshua Punk Thompson would mention it on their podcast. Mum's the word. I don't think they're allowed to, probably. If I fought in MMA, I would not fight for the UFC, right? DW is the Don King of MMA. And, yeah, I mean, he's better than Don King. I think, if he says you're going to get a certain amount in your contract, you're going to get paid. Whatever that contract says, you're going to get it. And to be fair, a lot of times Dana White, he gives locker room bonuses. He's constantly giving money above and beyond. Fighters I've talked to have said every single time they went out there and either won or had what was considered an entertaining performance, they entertained the crowd, Dana White came to them in the locker room and gave them an envelope with extra money. What's up, PBR Street Gang, with the first super chat? What's going on, my man? Thanks for the cheese, man. Appreciate it. $2 so far. Isn't Don King a convicted murderer? He is. Don King actually, well, he got off the first time for murder, that he killed somebody. The second time, he served time, and that's when he went to jail. When he went in prison, he actually got his law license, and that's when he learned to be a scheming crooked. Apparently, he was scheming and crooked before that, but that's when he really learned. Wish nothing but the best for Francis. He dared to challenge the machine and left on his terms. Good on him. I agree. Cheers, Phil. So let's get what a few other people are saying. Well, first of all, I want to go through what Dana's saying. So Dana is saying, we offered Francis a deal that would have made him the highest paid heavyweight in the history of the company. More than Brock Lesnar, more than anybody, and he turned the deal down. Well, we don't know what Brock Lesnar made, and I pretty much guarantee you, from people I've listened to inside, inside the community, Francis Ngannou most likely doesn't know what Brock Lesnar made. If you look online, UFC payouts, what Brock Lesnar made over his career, it says it's about $5.2 million. And I imagine it was significantly more than that. But I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. He got underpaid if that's all he made for his career. Because, I mean, he sold millions of pay-per-views. So, and until I see the contracts, like, next to each other, that's just hearsay. Like he says, more than anybody, Dana's a smart dude. He's a smart guy, and sometimes this is business savvy. Sometimes it is, but he is very good with his words, and he is very good at saying something that looks like it means one thing, but it's not really exactly the truth. It's not a lie, but it's worded in a way that's deceptive. And I don't know if that's the case here or not. Maybe he would have been making more than Brock Lesnar. From everything I can find online, it doesn't look like Brock Lesnar made near as much money as what he said he would. The only guy that we know what they made was Randy Couture, and that's because when he went on television and they were having that lawsuit back in the day, Randy went on TV and, he had to say what he made in salary. And he talked about that on this show when he was on here when we interviewed him. Brock Lesnar overall net worth is $25 million. Seems like it should be a lot more, but who is totally excited to see John in the heavyweight division? I totally am, man. All right, I'm hitting the road. Got to bring my daughter to her mom's. Have a great rest of the day, fight friends. You too, Phil. Thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, have a good day with your daughter. I don't see Ngannou doing MMA again until he makes boxing money and his knee surgery is 100%. I would think he signs a PFL or Bellator after cashing in on boxing. Could be, and there's nothing saying that he won't go back to the UFC. I wouldn't be completely surprised if he did end up back there at one time. They offered Francis $8 million. If they offered him $8 million for a fight, that's really good money. And I do remember hearing that. And if it's just about money, I think maybe he takes it. But, they're getting very good at doing these contracts. John Jones has signed an 8-deal contract, which is great. But he had to go and get Richard Schaefer. Richard Schaefer used to work for Golden Boy Promotions. So, he did a lot of contracts with fighters. Now he's running his own agency. He's no longer part of Golden Boy. He's independent. It was the first MMA contract that Richard Schaefer's ever done. He said it was pretty difficult dealing with the UFC, but he feels like he got Jones a great deal. I have no idea what the amount is. I think some of Lesnar money came from his time in the WWE too. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But Lesnar wouldn't go to the UFC, I don't think, unless he was making big time money. So I'm pretty sure he made more than $5 million. I got to be fair to the UFC on that one. I would be really surprised if he only made $5 million. I just don't see how that could be right. I could be wrong. Yo, what's up, Pulse Reloaded? Do we have fights today? No fights today. John Jones worth $3 million. Torn. Yeah, and here's one of those things. Like, if you just Google how much somebody's worth, I mean, those things are wildly inaccurate. I know Joe Rogan did a whole thing on it, and he's like, oh, that's all I'm worth, huh? Says Joe Rogan's worth I don't know what it says now, but at the time it said he's worth $25 million, and he had just signed, that $100 million deal with Spotify, which apparently is significantly more than $100 million. Throwing away $8 million for your last fight. That's a lot of cash. And, I don't know what the UFC wanted out of that. I really would like to know. Did they say, hey, one fight and you're out? That's one thing with the championship clause too. It's like a lot of people, oh, this is great, we can't get cut if you're champion. Well, the thing is you can't leave until you've lost the championship. That's part of the championship clause as well too. And credit to the UFC and Dana for not enacting that. Sorry about your Seahawks. Hey, they did a lot better than I thought they would this year, Pulse Reload. A lot better than expected. So I think we're looking good next year with a lot of draft picks. 8 fights for Jones is 20 years of fighting in between legal issues and breaking the law. You ain't kidding, Beowulf. Ryan G and Tank Davis fight is in jeopardy. Might not happen. It's hard to make fights in boxing, but easier in MMA. Yeah, I seen Ryan Garcia put out a 24-hour warning to Gervonta Davis. It's like, hey, if this can't get done, this contract in 24 hours, I'm moving on. I don't know what all the stipulations of it are. But we're going to go over last week's card real quick, and then we're going to come back to some more of these quotes on Francis Ngannou and things. But I just want to get through last week's card and talk about, what's next. What's next for each fighter? So we'll bring up this Fight Night card here in a moment. And we'll start with the prelims. So let's go through the prelims. Charles Johnson and Jimmy Flick. This was an interesting one because there was more controversy as far as betting. I guess the odds to begin with were really close on this. Like they were almost even. And then a ton of money, so much money came in on Charles Johnson that apparently it sparked another little investigation. I don't think as big as the Derek Minner thing. But Charles Johnson ends up winning it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about that in the future. Boxing MMA says, wasn't John Jones out last 3 years because he wanted 13 to 16 million a fight? Yes. Does gone fight mean he got paid what he wanted? He's got 8 fights. I don't know if he's getting 13 to 16 million a fight. Maybe he is. I don't know, but he's definitely got a great contract. Everybody seems happy. Even Richard Schaefer said it was a good contract, and he's coming from boxing. So, I mean, that makes me pretty confident that, they got a pretty fair deal there. So, looking at the rest of this card, Nascimento, Alan Nascimento getting a rear naked choke first round. That was a great win for him. Not a whole lot else going on this prelim card. We're going to go ahead and jump ahead to the main card, and then we'll go through what might be next for everybody on this list. We'll go through the weight divisions. And we're going to go through heavyweight rankings too, because we're going to jump back over to the Jones subject. But I want to get through this. And then eventually, before we go, we're going to go through the UFC 283 card. Okay, so here's the main card minus the championship bout there, of course. Wait, we got a super chat. Thank you, Boxing MMA. £5. Thanks for the cheese, buddy. Getting us up to $7 on the day. Or a little more. I don't know what the pound exchange is there. But thank you, my friend. All right. Umar Nurmagomedov making quick work of Raoni Barcelos. Man, that was... What a finish from Umar. Raquel Pennington. She surprised me. I was also surprised it was a split decision, but I thought Vieira was going to take her out. Raquel looked really good. Roman Kopylov over Panahela Soriano in that 3 spot. That was a great match. That was a great matchup at middleweight. And Kopylov looked incredible. Would be Jones' hardest test besides Reyes. Yes, am I the only person who thinks Jones versus Blade would have been good? That's the fight that I wanted to see, and we're gonna bring Curtis Blades in here in a minute too, because he commented on that situation. So middleweights, a couple of middleweights. Of course, Roman Kopylov winning and Sean Strickland winning over Imavov in the main event. Dan Ige looked really good against Damon Jackson. So you got to wonder where he is, in the whole thing with the featherweights. First, let's go to the bantamweight division because Umar Nurmagomedov fought on this. He looked really good. Let's look at 8 through 15. You got Umar Nurmagomedov at number 11. You got another Nurmagomedov there at 15, Syed Nurmagomedov. But, guys that I don't think would have much of a chance against him. Ricky Simon, I don't think would have a very good chance against him. He's above him. Pedro Munez, he's too old. I think he would murk him. Yadon Song, young, that would be a good fight. He's a good young fighter. And it's so hard to rank the bantamweights right now because, as I've said, I think it's the best division in the UFC. You look at the top 7, and you really have a lot of killers. You have Dominic Cruz. Of course, I think he gets past Dominic Cruz because, Dominic Cruz, like I said, he's old. And his body's kind of falling apart. His chin's falling apart. Not that he's not a good fighter, but I definitely think that Nurmagomedov could dispatch of him fairly easily. Rob Font, that would be a great matchup to see. And, of course, we talked about Rob. I don't know when Rob's fighting again, but that would be a good match. I think he gets through Rob Font. Everybody in that top 5 is killers. Sandhagen and Vera are going to be fighting each other soon. Could end up being Sean O'Malley versus Henry Cejudo for the interim belt, depending on what's going on with Aljamain Sterling's surgery. But it's starting to look more and more like that's the case. But eventually, Umar Nurmagomedov, he's going to start to face some of these guys, and I like his chances against anyone, guys. Caitlin can't get over the line like Bisping with the #1 contender fight. She dominated Miesha Tate, and then she loses to Raquel Pennington. And, like I said, I don't think it should have been a split decision. I thought Raquel won that fight at least 2 of those rounds. She looked really good. That's who it should have been. Blades versus Jones instead of Francis. Instead of Gaunt, I agree. Great performances on the main card, yes. I agree, Mike. It really is the best division by far. Zero Bob's O'Malley is overrated. You can't take away from that great matchup against Peter Yan. I do still believe that. I'm a little more of O'Malley believer after that fight, though. Like we said, Dan 50K Ige won, though. So let's look at the featherweights. Let's look at the featherweights for a second. Alex Caceres at 15. I know he's got a fight coming up. I can't remember who it was, but they announced he's got a fight coming up shortly. Why nobody talking about Justin G versus Fiziev? That's going to be a great fight, man. That's a killer. But you got Dan Ige. He's right there with Edson Barbosa, right above Edson Barbosa, right below Sodiq Yusuff. So who does he beat? Him and Yusuf would be a good matchup. Honestly, I think that he's able to beat Bryce Mitchell. But you're looking at this featherweight division. This is a lot better division than it was maybe even a couple years ago. When Max was dominating everyone. Get above Ige. Sodiq Yusuff, that guy's a killer. Bryce Mitchell always puts it out there. Evliev, dude, is a stud. Ilya Topuria, almost everyone is scared to fight this guy right now. Giga Chikadze, I mean, his kicks and power are just scary. He seemingly could put it on just about anyone at any time. Calvin Kattar bounced back really well after, getting dominated by Max. I was surprised how well he bounced back. Chan Sung Jung, I think he's probably a little high up there right now. I mean, he got that title shot, but I think he loses to probably quite a few of these guys. I would pick Calvin Kattar against him. I'd pick Yusuff. I'd pick Giga. I would like to see Chan Sung Jung versus 50K Ige. I don't know if they've fought. I don't remember. But Just versus Fiziev is a great fight. Absolutely. Most UFC fans would rather see a knockout than a submission, so I can see why UFC wouldn't want to let a guy to box and get knocked out. Well, that's, yeah, for the brand, I guess, for the name. Yeah, no one cares really if they get submitted in a jiu-jitsu match, but if they get knocked out in boxing, that is harmful to their brand. And when I go back to France, I want to talk about the harm that Dana White did on the Francis Ngannou brand on the way out the door. Same thing he tried to do to Nate Diaz. Cheeto Vera versus Sandhagen is good to pay-per-view worthy. That's a great one, and that's going to be on a fight night. Not only is that fight on the fight night, but Aaron Blanchfield and Taylor Santos. I think it's Taylor Santos, the girl that just about won the championship. I mean, she put Shevchenko through the ringer. A lot of people thought she won that fight. I think she may have as well. And Aaron Blanchfield is a motherfucker of all motherfuckers. Her wrestling is scary. And she is really young. Both those women are really young. That's going to be a great fight, both on the same fight night. I said Sandhagen and Cheeto and Blanchfield and Santos. Topuria stole the show on the pay-per-view. Yes, he did. Torn, I heard Justin Fiziev hasn't been finalized. Someone hasn't signed contract yet. Yeah, I heard they announced it, and then it came back that, okay, it's not done. Robertson finalized. Dana White said on an interview. Okay. 50K and Sanjung is an interesting fight. Good pick, Mike. Thank you, sir. Gaethje Fiziev got fight of year potential. Oh, absolutely. Anytime Gaethje's fighting, it's a possible fight of the year. Robert Carey and Dana White said Justin G versus Fiziev is going to co-main on the Usman versus Edwards card in London. Oh, that's a great choice. Tired of Benny DeRoos never getting credit from anyone. I mention him often because no one else will. Yeah, he's a very good fighter that nobody wants a piece of. You're right, PR. I heard that, but then see something from Brack Automoto the following days saying it isn't a done deal yet. I believe him over Dana. Yeah, could be, because it seems, Robert, like Dana likes to announce some of these deals, and then fighters come back and they're like, wait, we haven't signed a contract. It's kind of like he's trying to put pressure on them. It's a savvy business move, but I would rather Dana try to have a more honest and ethical relationship with his fighters. I mean, right now, I don't know how many guys really trust him, and it's hard to blame him. Aaron destroyed Molly. Both are really big third division. That's a great fight. Yeah, I really got on the Aaron Blanchfield bandwagon when she defeated Miranda Maverick. I was really looking forward to that fight. I thought they were pretty evenly matched, and Blanchfield just ran her over. Miranda Maverick, I mean, she's a stud. She's really good, and she could not compete with Blanchfield. PR Charles Oliveira and Benny are in the works for March or April. I did hear that. Torn. France has a huge ego. John Stone. Michael Johnson and Ferguson might be next. It's a good fight. Benny was scheduled to fight Justin. No go. Then Dustin. No go. No Charles. Seems like fighters don't give him his dues. Now Charles. I agree. What's up, King James in the house? Yeah, I heard Dana this morning announce Gaethje Fiziev is done deal for co-main. Sweet. Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it is a done deal. Okay, well, we had some middleweight fights. So let's look at the middleweight division here real quickly, because Strickland won. Roman won. Which was a great win. You still have Darren Till on here. You have Chris Curtis above him. Then you have Kelvin Gastelum, who of course just had to back out of a fight. I don't know what is going to happen with that. Nasruddin Imavov. He may stay where he's at, even though he lost. Because Sean was already, ranked well above him. I heard some guys talking. I heard the guys on MMA Junkie talking, saying just because Strickland beat Imavov at at light heavyweight, don't think that this is the same thing at middleweight. I disagree. I think it's the same thing. I think Sean beats him even worse if they fight again, because Sean's going to have a better training camp. Yeah, he was the 10 pounds heavier, but he ended up having the better cardio. And Sean was not in shape. He was not in training camp. He was coming off of, he hadn't had a fight so long ago, so he still was probably, in decent shape. But coming in at 204 pounds, he was a little soft. And we seen him get tired, which, he always has an amazing gas tank. Almost never gets tired. PBR Street Gang says, I think John is going to wreck the heavyweight division. Your thoughts? I think he's a problem for everyone. I see him defeating Gon fairly easily. Like I said, if Francis could take him down, what is John going to do to him? The real question is, how good is John going to be after such a layoff, though? I'm not worried about the fact, he's never fought at heavyweight. Everybody says, he's never fought at heavyweight. Yes, he has. John Jones has been in the cage, I guarantee you, at 230 pounds against Daniel Cormier and against other fighters. He as a light heavyweight, he walked around bigger than many of the heavyweights out there. Sure, he was 205 pounds, for about 10 seconds. But he's a big dude, and he put on that weight slowly. I don't think the weight's going to be a huge deal. I think the ring rust is more of the problem. Guarantee we see Francis and Fury fight, then never hear from Francis again. He's looking for a big payday, then bounce. I wouldn't blame him. Honestly, I'd probably do the same thing. Is Dana's Power Slap League gone now after he had that New Year's controversy? Arts and sponsors pulled out? No, it actually debuts in 2 days on TBS. I'm not a fan of the Slap League. Doesn't have anything to do with what happens on New Year's Eve. I'm kind of sick of talking about what happened on New Year's Eve. I don't think it was as big a deal as people are making it out to be. I don't think it was right. Definitely wasn't right. But I don't think it was that big a deal. I don't think it was that, this kind of Ray Rice situation. It was his wife slapped him really hard, and, he tapped her back, and it was not, he obviously didn't put his power into it. If you watch that video, I don't see how you could really still be talking about this. But, that's the media. I guarantee you. Sorry. I wish I had a working phone. I got some inside info about Ngannou situation. Oh, nice. Well, you can just spill it here if you want. Middleweight division hasn't been great, but new blood like the Delidze Duplessis coming up, Munoz, etc. is much needed. And we got Dricus Duplessis and Blonde Brunson coming up. So that should be a good fight. Let's look at these top guys. Sean Strickland still, at number 7. I don't know if he goes up because he beat a guy that was much under him, so he probably stays where he was at. Paulo Costa just above him. Derek Brunson fighting, like I said, and credit to Brunson for taking the Dricus Duplessis fight, because Duplessis is a dangerous fighter. He's not even ranked in the top 15. Martin Vettori up there. Him and Jared Cannonier, I kind of put in the same boat. Like, they're decent fighters that will never be champions. They're just not at the same level as everybody else. Robert Whittaker, he's a top-notch guy. If he ends up getting the fight against Pereira before Izzy does, I think Robert Whittaker would compete with him very well. Uses wrestling and some different things, and I think that's a really good fight. Izzy, of course, wants the rematch first. As long as he's not injured or something, I mean, he's going to get what he wants, and he probably should. He had that belt for quite some time. Fury will definitely take... Oh, MMA fans are weird at times. Calling Justin Gaethje washed after losing to Charles Oliveira. Like, dude beat Chandler before fighting Oliveira. They make it like he's been losing a lot of fights. Agreed, man. Fury will definitely take the Ngannou fight. Easy money, easy work for him. I agree. Slap League still on. Dana don't care. Still going to be king. That Russian guy who knocked out Ty is going to be a dangerous guy for Jones. Oh, Sergey Pavlovich? Absolutely. We're going to talk about him in a minute here, too. Exactly. It was 205 for 10 seconds. Slap League airs on TBS Wednesday. Can't wait. PR says, guess we all forgot how post-steroid John Jones is nowhere near the level as pre-steroid John Jones. Dude hasn't fought in years. So the last few fights were questionable against them. And now it'll be interesting. Well, under the impression that he's just going to come back as this magical, mythological beast, I think Jones gets wrecked at heavyweight. Could be. I am concerned about the ring rust. That's why I'm not sure if I'm going to bet on that fight. If I am going to bet on the fight, I'll bet Jones, and I may still end up putting some money on it. Just because I think John Jones' wrestling is going to be a big problem for Gone. PR, nobody should be hitting one another, man or woman. Agreed. Dana and wife foreplay. This is Jim. Yeah, that Russian dude gets a heavyweight title. I don't see anyone beating him for years. He can definitely pop people. He's definitely got some power. I'd like to see him fight some, some more skilled guys. But, I mean, he put Tuivasa out of there pretty damn easily. And, Gone played with his food for quite a while before he was actually able to take Tuivasa out. Not an Izzy fan. Let's go Bobby Knuckles. PBR Street Gang. So I've been 3 years. Make it like Jones been out 7 to 8 years. Well, your career's only so long, though. And who was it that he came back? He came back after like an 18-month layoff. I can't think of the guy now. I think he retired. I can't think of the name. But he retired, and then he came back and fought at heavyweight, I think recently. Whittaker can match Pereira, stand up and dominate everywhere else. I thought he outstruck Izzy last time. Yeah, I really like Whittaker's chances if he got that fight against Pereira. Women shouldn't hit men and not expect to be hit back. Yeah, like I said, I think it was just a reaction from Dana. And it did seem like he was in a little bit of control because... you watch this video, and I'm not going to justify he shouldn't have hit her. But she smacks him like this, and he's got a cupped hand, and it's just kind of like a little, what'd you do that for kind of thing. Shouldn't have done it, but Well, the media, I kind of feel like they let John Jones off the hook for beating the hell out of his wife compared to what they're putting Dana through. I mean, this is not the same kind of situation. Who do you think is the pound for pound number one, Jones or Mighty Mouse? Always Mighty Mouse on my list because of Jones' failed tests. Cejudo and Jones been training. Henry said, I'll be with him for the next week. I think that was smart of Jones. Starting his first week in fight camp with Henry. Oh, absolutely. Henry's an incredible trainer. He's already helped many other fighters. And if he's around Henry Cejudo, I guarantee you he's going to be around Mike Tyson too. So he's going to have Mike working his boxing. And Cejudo's boxing's gotten better. No matter who Cejudo faces next, I was watching a video online of where Tyson was teaching Cejudo the peekaboo style, and man, he picks things up so quick. No matter what you think about Cejudo's, like, kind of his masquerade, his little act that he does. I mean, the guy has a great MMA mind. Robert says, Jones on my list. No, and you're not wrong to think that. I don't think that's just, it's just my opinion. If it wasn't for the tests, Robert, it's definitely Jones on my list. That is the only thing keeping him off of number one for me. Okay, so we went through last week's card. Let's go to the heavyweight rankings real quick. Because we just had a heavyweight fight announced, of course. Francis leaves. And, let's see. Where was everybody ranked before they make this bout? I don't know why Blego Ivanov's still on there, to be honest. That just shows you that, there's not a lot of great heavyweights. You still got Chris Daukaus on there. I mean, that's not a guy that's ever going to be champion. I despise women beaters, but media is making Dana's situation something it ain't. It's reached a tabloid Jerry Springer point. Exactly. This is not a cut case. This is not he walked up to his wife and slapped the shit out of him or knocked her out in an elevator like Ray Rice did. You know what? Fuck Ray Rice. That guy can rot in jail forever for all I care. I could care less what happens to him. Same thing, you guys know how I feel about Greg Hardy because every chance I got, I told you guys how I cannot stand the guy. It's not going to change anytime soon. Dana White's not that guy. And Izzy was on his way to beating Alex until that Hail Mary KO. So Alex wasn't controlling that fight like people think he was. Izzy was actually winning, almost knocked Alex out round one. I thought he was going to knock Alex out too. Yeah, that's... I was surprised. I know he had knocked, that Pereira had knocked Izzy out in kickboxing. I just really didn't see it happening again, but it did. Heard Tyson and Jones have been sparring together already. Seen a video last week of them hanging out. They've been friends for a while, and I know they've kind of playfully sparred, like in public and with each other and stuff. And I think that's a good influence to have around Jones because Tyson's one of these guys, he made the mistakes and he'll admit it and he'll come out and he came out better on the other side of it. I think that's a good role model for Jones to have. I don't know anyone who thought Pereira was winning that fight. No, I mean, he definitely wasn't winning. It's just, he's got that power and he got through. Robert says, agree, King. At King James, some people did, though. When the rematch, is he going to beat him? I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. I also think that maybe Izzy got a little complacent, though, not just in that match. I really didn't I thought he could have been more aggressive in the Jared Cannonier match. And he's had a few matches like that recently. I mean, Izzy's one of my favorite fighters. I am a big Izzy fan. But, that being said, I just feel like, he was kind of coasting. We weren't seeing the killer instinct that, seeing him knock out Robert Whittaker and some of those other great knockouts. 15 through 8, though, I'm going to look at that real quick. I don't see anybody in from 15 to 8. I don't see any of these guys really making noise as far as a championship shot anytime soon. So let's just jump right over to the top 7. And up first at number 7, you have the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. And he's looking very good. Very good nowadays. And actually, let's look at a little photo of him, guys. So look at this. This is Derek Lewis on the left, a few fights back. His last fight, I believe he went in at 263. I have no idea how he took off so much weight so quickly, but look at that picture on the right. I heard he was 240 or maybe even below. I mean, if you're coming in at 263 at heavyweight, that means you're walking around probably at least 280. Because if you're that close, you definitely had to cut weight. Also, Usman going to get his belt back. I agree. Bales, I can't believe it's already been a year since Ngannou fought gone. Yeah, that went by. It does not seem like that long ago. Okay, I'm over this Dana slap thing. Let's move on. Yes. One thing I still don't understand is why Izzy parked back to fence and waited for strikes. Yeah, that was weird. And his wife back as one would be disciplining their child. My opinion, if I had a kid and they mouthed off, smack them similar. I mean, Izzy is just a smart fighter. He isn't a dumb fighter who wants to get in wild brawls like Chandler and get brain damage just to please the crowd. No, true, Torrin. True. And as much as I love that Chandler and, Gaethje has a similar style, it's not always the smartest for the future. Damn, it sure is fun to watch. King James agree, Rob, just enough to rationally put brakes on assault. Overreacting gossip is getting old. Lewis looks about 235 in that picture. Yeah, he's looking slim compared to where he was. But so quickly, we'll go through a few of these. Tom Aspinall, of course, he got injured in the Curtis Blades fight, injured right at the beginning of the fight. That was against Curtis, right? Yeah. I don't know when he'll be coming back. I don't know if he should still be ranked at number 6 or not. Tai Tuivasa still at number 5. I mean, he had a good fight with Gon. He's had a couple of good wins. Got knocked out by Sergey Pavlovich the last time out. But Pavlovich has been on a tear. Curtis sitting there at number 4. I'm very surprised that Pavlovich has already leapfrogged Curtis Blades in the rankings, though. I completely disagree with that. And Curtis did weigh in on the Gon Jones fight because everybody knows, his name had been thrown in there. And then he kind of got pushed off to the side. Well, he definitely got pushed off to the side. So, real quick, we'll look at what he said. I believe this is on Twitter. It says, obviously, I've seen the news. Gon is getting another title shot versus Jones. Most likely, I'll be getting the Pavlovich fight, who just beat Tuivasa. That's cool with me. I get why Gon got the shot, and it wasn't based off meritocracy, and that's no newsflash. The UFC is always going to matchmake based on who puts the most asses in the stands and eyes on the fight. I hope I'll only need one more win to prove I can put asses in the stands. He wants the winner of that fight. He's not going to get that one either. And we'll talk about that here in a moment. But yeah, I felt bad that Curtis got leapfrogged. He was very professional about how he did that. But I think Curtis is maybe the worst matchup in the whole division for Jones because he's going to out-wrestle Jones. That's what I'm going to say. He's going to out-wrestle Jones. Earlier in Jones' career, maybe he doesn't, but Curtis is a full-fledged, full-size heavyweight that has incredible wrestling. It may be the best wrestling in the history of the heavyweight division. I mean, he's right there with everybody. Jones hasn't used the wrestling, in that way. I don't know if his knees are as good as they used to be. I think, could he out-wrestle a guy like Gone? Yeah. I don't think he could out-wrestle Curtis Blades, though, for a second. Jogging pick of Lewis looks like he could make 205. That'd be crazy. Smart fighters are always looked at as boring. Yeah, you're right, Torn. What you got between Tony Ferguson and Johnson? They fight. Man, that's a tough one. Johnson, he is so streaky. Like, he can beat just about anybody on any given night, and he can lose to just about anyone on every given night. I don't know how Ferguson's chin is holding up. He looked horrible against Nate. And I know that was up a weight class. I really have no idea. Honestly, if Ferguson comes in shape and we see that Michael Johnson, who's not motivated, Ferguson will take him out of there. If we get a motivated Michael Johnson and, a Tony Ferguson that's a little softer on the midsection and looks more like Nate Diaz than he did in the Nate Diaz fight, then I'd probably go with Johnson. It's going to depend on those things. Pavlovich will be champ in the future, I'm thinking. He's definitely good. He's definitely on a tear. I'd like to see Izzy engage more often, but he does have high fight IQ, no doubt. Yeah, I agree. So right up above him, though, we're talking about Stipe Miocic. And a lot of people were like, hey, why isn't Stipe in the fight against Jones? Because that's a fight they talked about, too. Well, Stipe said he wasn't ready. When they announced this was very short notice. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of Stipe is dealing with the death of his father. His father just passed away recently. So I think he's just fine waiting a little while to get back in there to, kind of digest that. I don't know how you digest losing your father. But, he did also comment on that, and let's see what Stipe Miocic had to say. So short and sweet and to the point, like Stipe generally is. Says March 4th, I like it. I got the winner in July. And it sounds like from the UFC's perspective that they're excited about that fight and they're willing to put Stipe in there. Stipe's 40 years old now, though. He doesn't have a whole lot left in the gas tank. So if he wins, does he ever fight again? I know the UFC really doesn't like it when a guy wins the belt and retires. But people also love Stipe Miocic. So who knows? Squad UFC is matching up vets like Tony and Johnson finally. Both past primes with plenty to offer against the right competition. I agree. I think they're realizing if they don't, those guys are going to go to other organizations. And for one thing, make more money probably. But, they want to get those good fights. They want to have them on the UFC, and we want to see them in the UFC. I hope they do Ferguson versus Johnson on a pay-per-view, not at the Apex. Absolutely. Fuck the Apex. John Jones said an 8-fight contract. I guarantee he'll be champ for the next 4 years. Mark my words. All right, Glover's 43, Mike. What's your point? That's very subjective to each person, though. I mean, just because one guy can do it at a certain age doesn't mean everybody can. Those are outliers. Randy Couture, he was fighting at 46. And he was fighting very well. But It's the miles, too. I'm not sure Stipe is going to be the same after the Francis Ngannou knockout. I mean, look at Tony. Tony Ferguson, he's not 40. Michael Johnson's not 40. Those guys have a lot of miles on them, though. Yeah, Glover's a stud, though. What an outlier, and what a great second half of his career he's had. Mad respect for that guy. I like Bobby Green versus Ferguson better than Johnson. Yeah, I like that fight as well. But like I said, that's what we end up getting. Let's check out what we got coming up on Saturday, though. Let's go to the UFC Brazil card. UFC 283. We'll start out with the prelims. All right, so first matchup that really jumps out at me is this Warlley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby fight. I mean, I think that's a great fight. At welterweight, odds are very close. I really have no idea who wins, but that's an incredible fight. Then you got Cody Stamann returning. That's a fun fight. Gelton Almeida, he is a huge favorite over Shamil, by the way, which surprised me quite how big of a favorite he was or is. But let's go to the main card now. All right, well, we still got a few of the prelims on here. We got RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez taking on Bruno Ferreira. That's a fun match. Gregory's almost a 3-1 favorite, I think, but Bruno's undefeated. Should be an interesting match. I think everybody knows that Gregory Rodriguez pretty much has an invincible chin at this point, though. Ihor Potieria, I don't know a lot about this guy, but he's a favorite against Mauricio Shogun Rua, and Rua's, I'm assuming, retirement match in Brazil. Hopefully Rua can pull out one more win. Paul Craig and Johnny Walker, that's a fun one. I think Walker can get that one. He's just going to have to use his fight IQ. I would say I love the Apex, love hearing every shot, but I'm twisted, so that's probably plays a part. Fook hearing crowd cheer does nothing for me. I want to see people be able to go to matches, though. I do like parts of the Apex for those reasons, though. Stipe, easily another 2 to 3 years. He is a firefighter, for Christ's sakes. Show some respect, people. You have to be physically fit to do that job. Agreed. If Ferguson would have gotten the proper coaching, he would have been great. Can't do it by yourself. You need a variety of ideas. In today's world, yeah, you can't. I mean, back in the day when Matt Hughes and Rich Franklin were training together with VHS tapes in a garage, I mean, yeah, that was a whole different world. It's a lot tougher now. Didn't Worley Alves beat Colby back in the day? Yes, he did, Torn. Not sure if Mike's post went live lately, but I can't get notifications. Just had to be looking when stumbling on today. Oh, you can't get notifications? All right. Well, shoot. I would say I would email you or text you, but I have no way to contact you, King James. For some reason, crowds get me hyped. Oh, some reason. Yeah, me too, man. I love a live crowd. Been a Ferguson fan from day one. My loyalty will keep me dedicated to the end. Yeah, how can you not love Tony Ferguson? I mean, he's a lovable guy. Lauren Murphy versus Jessica Andrade. I really don't have much to say about that. Let's go to that 3 spot. Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. That's a fun fight. I think Burns can eventually finish Magny, but he's got to be careful. I'm not worried about Burns underestimating Magny because he's a respectful, smart dude. He really doesn't underestimate anyone. That's really the only way I see Magny beating Burns. I just think Burns he hits harder. He's more explosive. He's a better fighter. Neil's always fun to watch, but I got Burns in that one. Divison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. The odds are absolutely even on this one. They've pretty much split the matches that they've had. Divison is up 2-1, but that last match is a very controversial decision. I think if you talk to 10 people, 5 of them will tell you Moreno won, and 5 of them will tell you Figueiredo won. The X factor in this fight may be Brandon Moreno having to find a new camp. He was trained by James Krause. Sometimes getting a new camp, though, will light a fire under your ass and you'll learn some new things. But sometimes also it takes a while. I see him losing Krause as a net positive for Figueiredo. Then the main event, Jamahal Hill and Glover Teixeira. I have no idea why Hill was the favorite on that one. I guess because of his power and because Glover's getting older, but I think Glover takes him out. I'm going to definitely put some money on that fight. I will definitely put some money on Glover. I mean, he took everything Yuri threw at him, and I don't think that Jamahal Hill has more power than Yuri. He's right there. Jamahal Hill's definitely got a lot of power. But, damn, I think that's almost a steal to take that bet. I could be wrong, though. Anyone remember Dan and Shogun's fight where Shogun's shirts started out white and ended up red? Oh, that's a classic PBR. Ferguson's stand-up looked real sharp against Chandler in that first round. It certainly did. I would admit, only walkout that got me hyped was Oh Patty the Batty with the EDM music. I got hyped. So twice I got hyped for a crowd in the 30 years watching. The Ronda Rousey, come on, the Ronda Rousey walkouts didn't hype you up, Robert? I miss that girl. But in everyone's defense, I haven't been to a UFC event, only local promotions, and that was 15 years ago. Dude, we got to get to an event, Robert. We got to get to an event. Killa Hill will prevail, bet on black. You think Hill's going to beat, or is it a joke, or you think Hill's going to beat Teixeira? I'd be very surprised if John Mahal beats him, but my picks, I've missed a lot lately, though. I picked Imavov over Strickland. So, Rodriguez has been in great slobber knockers over the last couple of years. Oh, yeah, I'm happy to see him on this pay-per-view. That guy is just lightning in a bottle. Every time he fights is so exciting. I don't know if he's going to get good enough to where like he'll have a chance at being champion or something, but man, that guy's chin is impeccable. I got Hill beating Glover's torn. What's up, Digital Graffiti Playhouse? Thanks for popping in, man. Well, I am looking forward to UFC Brazil. As we talked about, the Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia negotiations are minute to minute. So if something happens, if something major happens there, I'll make sure and put out a video, at least a little short. I do have to mention one thing. I know a lot of people liked the street fights that I was putting out there. I was enjoying it. One of my favorite videos was that Kung Fu Fighting mashup. That video has been removed by YouTube for community guidelines, and I was threatened that if it happens again, that I would be suspended for a week from going live and possibly posting anything. So, unfortunately, street fights are going to be on the Facebook page. If I post any of the street fights or do anything like that, it's going to either be on the Facebook or on my Twitter, because I can't be suspended for a week. That's too long and too many views lost. Yeah, I kind of love Jamal Hill. Says third round knockout Hill. Oh, Hill is going to walk through Glover. Hill has been my dark horse of the division. Hill has got to lower his chin before someone catches it. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now you guys really have me doubting. As many of you guys are picking Jamal Hill. And Robert's been on with his picks lately. You know, he predicted the upset on the last ONE FC match. And the kickboxing match. So, seen Super Bond get knocked out. All right, guys. Hey, well, thanks for tuning in. I don't really have anything else to talk about now. We went an hour and a half. Thank you for the donations. $7 of the donations today, so much appreciated. And we'll have something on, probably a Friday thing. Oh, continue to watch out. I should have it today. Our Verdict Fantasy MMA. I'll post something on that. I'll put out probably a little video and a post, just like a short, just so you guys don't miss it. And then there'll be a link to join that. It's real easy though. Every week when the major event comes on, I believe it's just looks like it's just UFC events, and it's just 5 picks. It's just who do you think will win in the main event, but the competition will go all the way to International Fight Week. So I think that gives everybody something else to watch and be excited for those that can't bet, or for those that can, like me, so we don't lose money. I remember that now, Arcade Chaos. Good to see you, man. All right, later, Torin. Have a good one, man. Hill was definitely improved very quickly and had no issues as competitors improved. I mean, that's true. Start going live on StreamYard so subscribers can talk to you. What do they, like, call in? I'm not familiar with that, with how StreamYard works, but I'll look into it. Jim said, I don't know how to play this. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely doubting it now, too. Later, King. See you next time. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, can't wait for this week. Oh, another thing, though, before I go real quick. Yes, we got the verdict thing coming up. Let me know in the comments here. You can comment on this video after it posts if you don't get in the comments before we go live. How you feel about a Throwback Thursday. So the idea is I would find either an interview, probably mostly interviews that we've had here on Fights with Friends, but also we can do some older fight companions. I wouldn't put up a full fight companion. Maybe a big fight. Maybe, a card that had like 3 real big fights. And, we just go back. You could watch it on ESPN or Fight Pass or wherever it is. And then we could go through it and chat again and kind of see what the camera work and everything looked like, at the beginning of this thing. So hopefully that's something people are interested in. RKKS, I look at it like this. They're both bad matchups for any, but Glover has been a bad matchup for that division for a long time with everybody. I just think the styles, Glover wins. All right, guys. Again, thanks for tuning in. Thinking we're going to have these wrap-ups probably every Monday is going to be my goal. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses next time.